Hey folks, Alamanik the HotRodHippie here. This week's video is a product review. We're taking a look at the Aircat extended length cutoff wheel. Let's check it out. So today we're taking a look at the Aircat 6275-A extended length cutoff wheel. We're going to go over the specifications. We're going to check it in operation, and then I'm going to tell you what I really think about it. So let's get into the specs. This thing measures 15 inches long from the end of the air inlet to the end of the gearbox. With the new 4-inch cutoff wheel I have on there and the whip hose, it measures 16 3/4 of an inch in this configuration. It has a composite body design that wraps around a 1 horsepower air motor for a nice strong motor. It spins at a 14,000 RPM free speed. Has a variable speed trigger with a safety lever on there, has a metal gearbox design that has a little button on the side that locks the gear mechanism in, so you can remove the cutoff wheel with one tool, just a single 5/32 wrench. Of course it comes with that, or you can use your own. Generally has a guard on the end of there. I have removed it off of this tool, but that has 11 positions. You can quickly adjust it to those different positions for your needs. The tool weighs about 4.5 pounds. It has a rear exit exhaust to blow the exhaust away from your work area. Being Aircat, it is rated to be quiet. This thing is rated at 82 decibels, and in my independent testing, I did find that to be accurate. The head height on this thing is 1 3/4 inches. That is from the face of the nut to the backside of the gearbox head. So that is a pretty slim design to fit in tighter areas. It is a non-reversible rotation, so you do not have a reverse function on this tool. And that pretty much covers the specifications. So let's see this thing in actual operation. So what you see me cutting on here is 18 gauge cold rolled steel. This is something I cut on with this tool all the time. I use it on sheet metal, I use it on heavier stuff. I've used it up to 1-inch solid steel with this thing. As you can see, it cut it. Not much of a surprise there. I don't really feel that I'm going to need to show you a whole lot of cutting operations with this thing because it's a cutoff wheel. I can tell you what it does, how well it works. Showing you really isn't going to show much. If it bogged down and it died, I would show you that. But honestly, it doesn't. So let's get to what I really think of it. Quite honestly, this is my go-to cutoff wheel. Long and short of it, I love this thing. I've been using this thing for about a year now, and it really works well. The 1 horsepower motor does not bog down. I've rarely, if ever, had it bog down on me. Just when it gets really crammed into some sheet metal that's squeezing on the disc, it might start to bind down, but more often than not, it grabs and kicks out of there before that happens. I've cut through 1-inch solid stock with this thing. As long as you work with the wheel and you're not pushing on it, you're not fighting it, this thing works beautifully. The variable trigger is nice and it's pretty easy to operate, but being a cutoff wheel, more often than not, you're just running it wide open, so that's not really a big deal. I don't love the safety lever, but I just don't like safety levers in general. The fact that it's at the end of the handle is actually nice rather than being in the middle, because I've had tools where they'll bend around that safety lever over time because it weakens the handle, so this one is nice being at the end of the handle. The gearbox head, where the actual button is slightly larger than I care for, so once in a while it's a little difficult to get into areas, but being as slim as it is, it still fits into other areas that pretty much no other cutoff wheel will. As you can see, I removed the guard because I like to be able to freely move around as I'm cutting, especially when I'm flowing around a fender or a big radius. I need to be able to change angles quickly and easily. The guard just gets in the way for me personally. I just make sure to wear a fair amount of personal protective equipment when I'm generally using it. One of the things I don't love about this thing is a little bit of the body design. I don't think it needed to be a 1 horsepower motor on this. A little bit weaker motor would have been fine by me to have a smaller body design. With that body, I have hands that wear large gloves, so they're not small hands, and they fit around it just fine, but I would like just a slightly smaller body design to really be a little more comfortable for long use. When I'm using this thing, I'm generally holding it two-handed. One-handed operation with that long extended reach gets a little hairy. It wants to kick around, it wants to jump around on you. That's not the greatest. Generally, I either hold the backside of the head and guide it that way, or I hold a little farther back on the shaft with my other hand to guide it and keep it on line marks. And it really works well when I do that. Quite simply, there's not a whole lot more I can tell you about this thing. It works. It does exactly what you expect a good quality cutoff wheel to do. There's only one cutoff wheel that I like better than this one, and that is the original version of this one. the 6275 non-A revision. The 6275, the original one, had the smaller body design that I liked better than this slightly bulkier one. It was a weaker motor and it was far easier to bog down than this one, but once you learn to work with it and you don't push it too hard, I really didn't have trouble with that. It didn't have the safety lever on the handle. The trigger was not as variable as this one is, but again, I don't really find that I need that. I run it wide open more often than not. And lastly, the head design on the old version was a little bit slimmer and not quite as bulky. It measured closer to 1.5 inches, somewhere between 1.5 and 1 9/16 of an inch, so it fit into tighter spaces than this one does. However, this one still fits into tighter spaces than a lot of the other ones on the market. And I know like the Harbor Freight one, which of course is substantially cheaper than this one, is like 2.5 inches tall. That is much taller than this one is. It's not going to fit into tighter places as this one will. The only other thing I can say is the 2-year warranty on this is a beautiful thing. I have had 0 problems with this, but with my old one, the 6275, well, there's a reason that I use this one now. My old one broke twice on me. The old one broke once under warranty and once out of warranty, and that's when I retired it. I liked it, I really did, but the old one seemed to have slightly weak gearbox design. I knew a bunch of people who had that. At one shop I worked in, almost everybody owned that cutoff wheel, and we all broke them at some point or another. This one, I think they designed it a little tougher, they built it a little heavier, knowing that that could be a problem with the old one. I have had 0 problems in a year. It does not get noisy. It has not given me any trouble. The only other thing I find a little weird is that this one doesn't have a grease fitting. The old one had a grease fitting to grease the gearbox head, but maybe they found that that was a problem. People were introducing bad grease into the head. I do not know, but I thought that was a little strange that it didn't have a grease fitting on the head, but I haven't had any trouble with it, so maybe it's fine being a sealed design. I really do recommend this thing. As I said, cheapest price I could find was Amazon. That link is down in the description. You can go ahead and pick one of these up for yourself and see what I'm talking about. So I hope you found this video informative. If you did, drop it a like. Let me know in the comments down below. What do you think? Do you have one of these? Do you have one of the older versions? Do you have a different company's cutoff wheel that you like better in this, or you think I should check out and maybe I can compare to this one? Let me know. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel for more content like this every week. Thanks for coming around, folks. Have a good one.